What's going on, everybody? It's the Boo Bros, Josh, Nate, and Steven. Back at it again. Sorry for the delay. I think we haven't had a podcast in like 3 weeks or so. Just
Yeah, something like that.
holiday season's kicking in. Work's been crazy. But wanted to say happy Thanksgiving as of tomorrow. Today is the day before Thanksgiving. And wanted to go into like what's new. And basically, the newest information we have is the Bacon's Castle tour was last week. I didn't get to make it. I was at a housewarming slash friendsgiving party, but Josh can go into his experience there.
Oh yeah, I went to Bacon's Castle. It was an hour tour. So for those of you who don't know what Bacon's Castle is, it's the oldest building in the United States. It is 400 years old. The original part of the house, the main part where you do the ghost tour, is about 360 years old. Um, so we got out there. I take a ferry over there. It's kind of cool. Very cool building. We got there really early, like 25, 30 minutes, because we were expecting traffic to be pretty bad. And so we got to wander the grounds a little bit. Got some cool pictures, which we could put up in the notes, but there's a couple of, light anomalies that don't necessarily make sense. It could be glare, could be not really sure. But I got three of those, and then the tour itself was pretty cool. The building itself is owned by this place called Preservation Virginia, so they are like super strict on what you can touch, what you can't touch, where you're supposed to go. They have stuff roped off. The tour guide we had was the volunteer was the daughter of one of the investigators, and then the other person who's like the tenant of the house has actually got some lineage in the house as well. So she had some crazy stories. She started off saying, so she's actually she was downstairs, heard some footsteps, went upstairs, and something said her name like clear as day in the same room as her. So that
Mm.
room, she was like kind of she said it makes her really uncomfortable, but it was pretty cool. As a whole, we got to so they had EMF readers, they had REM pods, they had EMF rope, they had um a dead bell, which the dead bell was pretty freaky because it's an EMF reader that's under a hotel bell, but it just dings. Like that's how you can see that the EMF is changed. It's configured so that it can't set off any phones or anything. Phones can't set it off. They even showed it to us where they'd set it next to it and it wouldn't go off. But we go in the first, so we kind of went in the first room, and she was talking about this lady that would have been in that room where she changed when she was old, like later in life, because she didn't want to go up the stairs, and the bell dinged like almost instantly when she was talking about it. So that was pretty cool. Um, and then we went upstairs. We went down the basement, got some. She let us listen to a couple recordings, and then upstairs for me was the craziest because we went to the master bedroom, and there's a little boy named Henry who I think died of dysentery is what they said. So he was only like 4 years old when he died. Um, and they were talking about him, and I felt my shirt get pulled, and I looked to my right and I saw there's a rope. So I was like, okay, it's probably the rope. Trying to figure it out. Happens again. I'm like, okay, it's definitely the rope. And then right when I'm about to kind of push it off as like not a thing, the left side of my shirt actually got pulled, which wouldn't have, there's nobody near me. It was I was in the corner, so my left side of my shirt got pulled, and then like I felt like pressure on my hip, like kind of like what my son does whenever he's trying to get my attention. Some cold chills is pretty wild. I mean, obviously that's the first time I've ever gotten like something of my body touched, so that was pretty freaky. Um, but overall, tour was really cool. I definitely want to go back there. No hype at all. They just kind of talk about what people have seen. I think I saw a shadow go from left to right, but I think my mind was also playing tricks on me because it was like really dark in that room. Um, but in that same room, they put the EMF rope out, and this will be kind of the last thing I say about it, and then we can move on. But um, so they put the EMF rope down. They had the dead bell in the middle. There was three EMF readers that went off. The entire rope, and this was like when she said like this lady is normally here, like when they're and she doesn't like strangers. Almost on the cue, three MFs go off. The entire ropes light up at the same time, and the dead bell goes off. It was all like instantaneous, which was really freaky because you know, it's hard to explain that when all three of them go off, and no
Mm-hmm.
one was even close to the rope. So there's nothing that they could have done. And that room was the same room the lady said she felt uncomfortable with. So overall, it was a really cool tour. It's actually would probably be pretty cool to go during the day too, because they had like 7 or 8 buildings that are kind of placed because it was a plantation. So it was a really cool experience, and definitely, I feel like I don't know. I almost feel like I'm a BSer because it seems like every time I go somewhere, something happens. Like it never fails.
Yeah,
Whether I'm
yeah.
more connected, maybe I'm not. I don't know, but it was a cool experience, and I
W-
definitely am looking forward. They do private investigations as well, so I think that might be something we look to in the future. But
Yeah, that's what I was
yeah,
gonna
as Bacon.
say. Josh said, had mentioned that they offer private tours, and I think I'd want to go and have that experience, even if it was during the day. That doesn't bother me. Um, and to go off of that, I think you said that we'd have pictures in there. I get the pictures in here, and there's also on our website we have a gallery page as well as the blog
Yep.
post. We've included the pictures Josh took. Definitely interesting. I really want to be there in person to kind of make sense of it. I think a lot of the folks close to me are they always kind of chuckle when I make my faces when people are talking about their stories, just because like for me, I believe Josh, but like when you see other stuff online, it's so hard to validate it and so hard to like really give it any real credit. And I'm not like saying people are just outright lying, but I do think when you're in a dark place alone and you're hearing spooky stories about it, your mind and things are going to play tricks on you, and you're going to kind of you're going to be caught up in the moment.
For sure.
But Trey was there as well, and he doesn't strike me as somebody that just you know believes everything he sees and hears. And he said it was a really cool spot, and I'd love to go back and schedule a private tour. The lady seems like she knows her stuff, and you said she's related to the owner of it.
Yeah, so she's got. I think she was. So there's 3 families that own the house, and she's lineage from one of the families, and that house has only been owned by 3 families the entire lifetime of the house. So, um, and
That's
she,
pretty
I
cool.
think, I don't know if she's related to the woman in white, which is kind of another one of the main ghosts they talk about. But it definitely is interesting. It's one of those things where you kind of, like you said, like you kind of take stuff as like with a grain of salt, because you never really know. Trey does it. It's kind of like you, like he's not completely like, no, there's obviously some way to do it, but he's kind of like, he'll say it's interesting, but like he doesn't really like, he doesn't get hyped up like I do. And that's not in a bad way. I think for me, I'm like we've said before, like I'm a true believer. So if I can't debunk it within a couple seconds, I'm like, okay, it's got to be something weird. But
I don't think there's anything
it was a good
inherently wrong
experience.
with that way of being, as well as Trey or my way of being, where neither one is wrong. Really, what we're all setting out to do the exact same thing, right?
Right.
I did want to go into so that sounds like a great trip. We're probably going to go back with a private tour, but this Saturday we're having our finally. I
The
feel
big
like
one.
this is. I mean, if you think about it, this trip is kind of what started the whole thing, because you had talked about this site before any
Yep.
of this, before we did any podcast or website or any of that. It was oh, there's a haunted place near my house, Cabin on 360, Cabin on 360. It was always on the radar. That's finally happening in like 3 days. We're
Right.
going. We're there like 7 p.m. to early morning. Um, and it's what, 2 buildings total. It's a cabin in the house, as well
Yep. Two
as the
buildings,
entire lot of
rancher,
land.
cabin, 7.2 acres.
So we're really excited about that. Obviously, this is a big one. We're taking pretty much the same equipment with some caveats. We have a REM pod now, which is sitting upstairs right now. Josh has some cat balls, which are kind of like the EMF rope you were describing. Um, I think, at least, you basically roll them into a room and they'll kind of interact, or they'll light up and react when.
Yeah, it's just kind of like it's just like standard cat ball. So if any type of motion will make it light up. So the idea is it doesn't take a lot to make it move. So we'll see how legit it is. I mean, there's going to be a lot of factors that play
Yeah,
into
yeah.
it.
I think it's an interesting thing to have anyway. I think the more that you can have, the better your result would be, right? Like if you go into a room with just
Right.
an EMF reader and get an EMF reading, that's kind of one side of the story. But if we have an EMF reader and and a REM pod and cat balls and a spirit box and a thermometer and everything else, it's like, okay, well, it gives us more ways to prove kind of something's up. Um, but yeah, all that plus kind of some other equipment because this is somebody's land, this is somebody's home, so we're taking supplies, you know protein bars, water, energy drinks, phone chargers, flashlights, anything this is our own deal now. Like we're not
Right.
relying on a company or a professional to do this. We are fending for ourselves. So we're taking a lot more equipment. That definitely means that we're gonna have to vet a lot of this equipment. Some of this stuff we've never used, and we certainly never used it in conditions like this. So I'm excited for the event, and I'm also excited to this is like a field test for a lot of the stuff we have, and
Right.
not just the paranormal stuff. This is like a test for our backpacks, our flashlights, our pocket knives, our multi tools. Like we're gonna be using everything. So I'm excited for that. I'm a gear nerd. I love I'm a guy. I like backpacks and pocket knives and gear. So I think it's gonna
Right.
be fun. Um, but what I did want to ask you about, because you're kind of the you like to do the research, and so do I. But you're really about it. So you've been looking at the history of the site, right?
Yep. So the cabin on 360 was part of the Battle of Bethesda Church, which is still considered the bloodiest battle per capita in Virginia. Um, I think the only thing that even came close to it, I want to say, was Gettysburg. So we're talking 80,000 people fought over the course of 3 days. 2,400 perished. Um, So the idea was, so this was around election time, so Lincoln felt like there was pressure that they weren't getting enough wins against the Confederacy. And for those of you who know geographically, so Richmond obviously was the capital of the Confederacy. So if we're in Mechanicsville, you're talking like 15 miles from the capital. So you can imagine the amount of just pure manpower, and all that stuff because you're guarding your capital. So the Battle of Bethesda Church was kind of the when Grant realized that um, Lee actually had his own troops there. So Lee's troops were in the battle as well as Grant's, um, and they basically were trying to. Grant was just starting to Lincoln's like win these battles. So there was like this huge campaign. It was
Yeah,
like
it's like
30 or 40
additional pressure
days.
outside of just a battle. It's like we're talking about this is political now, right? So he's wanting
Right.
to win and make himself look better.
Yeah, so they went in. So Grant said, so the battle itself was around a supply point. So the supply point itself was pretty, like I said, was pretty well guarded. And we're talking, every single type of um, cavalry, regular skirmishes. You had entrenchments. Um, but it definitely, like, for 3 days, well, essentially 2 days, and have 2,400 deaths, and a majority of them coming from one side specifically. So actually, ironically enough, the union lost more soldiers than the Confederacy did. I think it's like 1,700 to 700 or something. But I mean, we're talking, they walked through swamplands and hit like a huge embankment of just getting lit up. But the so that's where this land is around. So this is part of it. So the main cabin was used, as far as I'm understanding and what I've read, is used as a headquarters slash field hospital. So that's going to come with a lot of trauma, obviously. And then the house next to it, the rancher, actually had a homicide or rape homicide in it. And it was kind of a messed up story. Like, it was like a step sibling murdered the other one and then like took off or whatever. So there's like they say there's some type of like dark energy that's surrounding this place that would cause it. Which, I mean, who knows? But so that's what the rancher is. And some of the stuff that, for history wise, I mean, it's any type of battle, especially with that many people getting killed, there's going to be a lot of residualness. So there'll be a lot of stuff that maybe it'll just be like noises that don't really make sense, like cannon fire, stuff like that, which they say they hear that. So cannon fire, muskets, screaming, um, and then the other part of it is, so the couple videos or a couple things that I've seen for paranormal wise is, so they've had the one I watched. There was 3 or 4 people that were going out on the road pure daylight and got touched like as they were going. They were getting like grabbed, like not grabbed, but like touched by random things they couldn't see on the middle of like a path. So there's nothing there that could get it. So that was happening to them almost instantly. We're talking disembodied voices, footsteps, knocks. Um, the I don't know if there's shadow figure. I would assume, yeah, there's. I know for sure that there's been some pictures because the Cabin on 360 has a gallery, and they had there's like it looks like a apparition in one of the windows. It also has like a random doll in the window, which is pretty creepy, anyways. They have like a doll sitting up like in the rafters for
I was
some
going to
reason.
shout
Don't know
out
why.
their website. They have a pretty fleshed out gallery of just things that I think people have sent them that they experienced there. To your knowledge, is there like a prominent um, event or like a figure that people see that's like an ongoing thing, or is it more of just like interactions?
So I don't really know because they don't really go in a lot of depth. I'm assuming that the tour, what it makes it sounds like is when you get there, because you get there from at 7 p.m. But it sounds like there's gonna be somebody there that kind of talks you through it.
I imagine they have somebody
Um,
there that like kind of walks you through what the grounds are like, and just for people to know, there is power. Like the dwellings are they provide power, they provide HVAC, they have a fridge on site. Like so, there are accommodations that you can use. Because I went into this thing like assuming there was going to be no power, no heat, no anything. So I was like thinking about bringing a heater and thinking about bringing like backup batteries for my phone. But it sounds like they provide a lot of that, which is nice.
yeah, and they also have they have kind of like a little. They said that they have like a little gift shop too that's got some other paranormal stuff as well.
Cool.
I was just kind of gonna see if I could, while we're on here, just see if I could find anything um, that they keep it pretty hush hush, which kind of makes sense. Like you
Yeah,
kind of want
they
people
probably
to.
should, right? I mean, I don't, you know.
I know that they made a Netflix. It's a Netflix series, I believe, called The Witching Hour. Is based on, or it's on YouTube. I'm sorry. Um, it's a short series on the Cabin on 360. Those guys had like all the disembodied voices and stuff. For prominent ghosts, I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out. I'm gonna keep researching because I mean I would assume that it's probably gonna be a lot of just soldiers. You'll probably have a
Yeah,
lot of
because it was
like
a
kind of
battlefield, it's
named.
probably kind
Yeah.
of just oversaturated, right?
Yeah, and I think the girl, I can't remember her name, but the girls that got murdered, they've definitely heard her voice in the
Gotcha.
other side.
Yeah.
So just kind of geographically too, this place is not that far out from everything. It's pretty crazy how close it is to me. Like in the city wise, like it's like you go out of the town, it's like right to the left. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I've
So
driven
you're
by it on
talking,
accident, like going to work events or whatever. I've like driven by it and I'm like, this looks kind of familiar, and then you see the sign out front, and you're like, oh shit. Um,
yeah,
go
it's 9, so at 7 p.m. to 9 a.m. We'll see. We're gonna kind of just gauge to see how well we're doing or how much we're getting to see how long we stay. But
hmm
I'm definitely stoked. I'm glad that it's gonna be us and we're not gonna have a huge group and
Me
we're
too.
gonna get to kind of focus and have fun, but also like be serious. Like, and I think that's gonna be one of the things where it's gonna make or break it for sure. Like, if we get out there and we're just joking around and stuff, you might not get what you want per
Right.
se. But if you go out there with the history and stuff, you might get some prominent names. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm excited. And kind of from there, I kind of want to go into the closing of this, which is, what comes after this. We kind of mentioned it. I think we're going to be looking at a personal private tour at Bacons Castle again. There's been some other spots locally to me and also to Josh that people have brought up that we should look at. One in Gloucester County, which I used to live in, a couple in Williamsburg, Richmond. I'm sure there's tons of stuff. Nothing
Oh
nailed
yeah.
down yet as far as being scheduled, but probably after the holiday season, knowing our schedule, and Josh is always busy, so we're probably gonna shoot for maybe first of the year. But we'll keep everybody in the loop. We've got our radar in our Discord, and we've got our website with the schedule, the calendar, which is kind of I try to pretty hard to keep that up to date. And then as far as just what's next for us in general outside of trips, we're gonna try to stream. We don't really have like a dedicated stream setup as far as like in the field. Um, so I'm kind of thinking of ways that we could like other than using a cell phone, right? I want to have like a more professional and more capable setup, like while we're on site, to be able to stream what's going on. I don't think we're ever going to be the kind of people that are streaming like 4 hours of content. Like we're probably going to stream maybe an hour. This trip at the cabin, we're probably going to take like short videos when we're in certain areas or we're getting interactions if they happen. We're probably going to just take videos of that and upload shorts to YouTube. But
Yep.
you know, other than that, just kind of staying on top of it. Josh is keeping the blog posts going. I've got a couple ideas for some field journals on our site. If you check those out, we appreciate it. They're fun for me to do when I have the time. And I think that's about it. Unless you had something else you would talk about.
I just wanted to give a shout out to you for the amount of effort you're putting on the
Thanks, man.
website, and I mean like the different blog posts and stuff. I mean, you do the cool pictures and stuff.
Thanks.
Uh, the site itself is great. If you guys are watching this and you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. I mean, it's really cool. It's got all of our social stuff. So if you want to join our Discord, it's small now, but it's building.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think
And
that's kind of the name of the game, right? Like we're small. We're kind of this. My favorite term when I talk about any kind of, and I hate the term content creation, but when I talk about content creation, I like to be on the grassroots side of it, right? Where we're kind of a small community, but it's active. It doesn't feel like you're screaming at an auditorium full of mannequins. It's like if you go on our Discord and ask a question, there's like probably like 8 or 9 people that are active in our Discord, and they're active. Like when you ask a question, they all jump on and talk to you. Like it's like there's real people there. And that's the kind of community we're passionate about building. I don't want to build just a community of a bunch of bots in Discord. I'm in a bunch of communities in Discord, and some of them are just like it seems like there's 500 people online and none of them speak to each other.
right,
So it's a lot more important for me to have 10 people that are talking to each other every day.
no doubt.
But anyway, I think we're going to close it out there. Again, happy Thanksgiving to everybody that's
Happy
watching
Thanksgiving.
this. I'm hoping to have this up on tonight, maybe tomorrow, for y'all to check out. And we will be in touch about all the stuff we see at Cabin on 360, what's coming next, and hopefully some new capabilities coming to our streaming setup and just overall, video stuff. Thanks to Josh for giving me the shout out for the site. But really, it's a group effort. Josh is making blog posts every week. Um, and we're all just doing what we can. I mean, we're not professional content creators. We're doing this as a pastime, a free pastime. Which, speaking
Right.
of that, we have one sponsor. It is W Energy. I feel like I don't shout them out enough, and I should. I've been drinking W Energy for over a year, thanks to Josh, and they were cool enough to jump on board. So I want to give a quick shout out to them. We'll have a link and all that stuff. It's in our Discord now. I'll put. I think in our podcast intros, there's a little pop up there as well. Appreciate them. If you haven't tried them out, their s'mores flavor is really good with warmed up with milk. It's awesome, especially when it's cold like it is now outside. It's an awesome little thing to throw in there, get some energy, make it feel like hot chocolate. Sit in your little snuggie and watch this episode of this podcast. So appreciate you guys. We will see you soon. Boo Bros out.
Later.